Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a really critical question shaping America's political future.
Right.
Is the progressive agenda actually strengthening the Democratic Party, or is it, well, weakening it?
Yeah, that's the core of it.
And this isn't about judging intentions,
Yeah,
right? It's about looking at the concrete results.
exactly. What's the real impact? Because understanding this internal struggle is, I think, absolutely key to grasping the wider political landscape.
And how it affects policies that impact, your everyday life.
It feels like a really critical moment.
Mm.
What's fascinating is how this goes beyond just an internal party chat.
Oh, definitely.
It's a deep ideological shift, and you can see tangible consequences for policy, for the electoral map itself. The party seems to be going through a huge transformation.
Absolutely. And to really unpack this, we've pulled together quite a stack of sources for this deep dive. We've got the Fractured Democratic Party, a defining moment. We've got insights from several AP-NRC polls, Pew Research, Gallup, CNN polls too.
And even a political history review.
Yeah. Right. So our mission here is to really distill the most important insights into this deepening divide.
So you can see the currents underneath, the things that decide who governs and what actually gets done.
It really goes beyond just the headlines, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It reveals these strategic dilemmas right at the heart of one of America's major parties.
So stay with us as we uncover some, I think, pretty fascinating insights. And remember, for more in-depth explorations like this one, you can always visit Mind Expansion Daily.
Okay.
All right, so let's start with what the sources are calling the main problem. A party that seems to be, well, at war with itself.
Yeah, that phrase comes up.
For almost a decade now, we've seen this really powerful progressive wave trying to reshape the Democrats. But these sources, they paint a clear picture of a party that's just not unified anymore.
That's right. It's described often as a fractured alliance. It used to be this famous big tent, right? Room for lots of different views. But now it seems clearly split.
Yeah.
You've got moderates on one side wanting compromise, especially on, say, economic stuff.
Okay.
And then the progressives on the other pushing for really big, sweeping changes, things like universal health care, a single-payer system.
And aggressive climate action, like the Green New Deal.
Exactly. That's a big one.
And when you mention progressive leaders, the sources specifically point to figures like Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yep. They're named as key figures driving this.
So what makes this, based on the sources, more than just a policy disagreement? Why is it a soul-defining clash?
Well, the sources suggest it's really about the party's identity. Representative Alyssa Slotkin had this great quip.
Oh, yeah.
She said the party is like a solar system with no sun.
Huh. That's vivid.
It really captures that feeling, doesn't it? A lack of a central unifying force, kind of leading to disarray, maybe a leadership void.
And it's not just talk, right? There's data.
No, it's not just anecdotal. A 2025 AP-NORC poll actually showed widespread pessimism among Democrats themselves.
Yeah.
Reflects this internal fight.
Wow. And that poll quotes a Tennessee voter saying something like, the old party's out of touch with today's world. That's not just a casual gripe, is it? The sources seem to say this points to a really deep gap.
A chasm, yeah, between the established leadership and what everyday voters are worried about now.
Yeah.
And that potentially threatens their connection with key groups.
Okay, so we've established these internal fractures. Pretty clear. But it's not just an internal thing, right?
No, not at all.
The sources say these divisions have real consequences for how voters see them. The stakes are huge. Let's dig into why this agitation matters so much to actual voters.
Precisely. This split matters because the progressive agenda, especially on climate, culture, and the economy, is, well, actively turning off some crucial voter groups.
Okay, like what?
Take climate. The Green New Deal, for some, it's an absolute must, right? A way to tackle the climate crisis head on.
Imperative, yeah.
Here. But for others, maybe in industrial states, it feels like a direct threat to jobs, to local economies, because it focuses on moving away from fossil fuels so quickly.
And didn't Slotkin call it an elitist purity test in one of the sources?
She did, explicitly.
Yeah.
Saying it feels out of touch with the practical needs of working Americans. She argued for focusing on things like affordable bills, not these huge, maybe all-or-nothing stances.
That's pretty strong language, elitist.
It certainly is. Then you have culture. The language around identity, while obviously vital for justice and inclusion, is described in some research as feeling preachy to a lot of people.
Like they're being lectured.
Kind of. Pew Research in 2025 found this was particularly alienating young men. They're starting to see Republicans as maybe bolder, less dogmatic.
That's a really significant finding. And then the economy.
Yeah, the economy. Big plans like wealth taxes, ambitious universal health care. The progressive base loves them, but they make moderates nervous. They hear socialism, especially when inflation is a concern. And Slotkin, again, she emphasizes her focus on an economic war plan for middle-class security. It just shows that contrast in priorities.
So all these tensions are pushing voters away towards rivals.
Exactly. So thinking about those three, climate, culture, economy, based on what we're seeing in the sources, what do you, the listener, think is the Democrats' biggest pitfall right now? Let us know your take in the comments.
Okay, so we've talked about the internal splits, how they're agitating voters. The logical next question is, what's the actual impact, the tangible effect? What are the electoral realities?
Well, the impact is definitely tangible. You can see it in election results and figures. Take Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
Okay.
His approval in New York apparently plummeted in 2025.
Yeah.
He was really caught in the middle, wasn't he? Progressive anger on one side, moderate discomfort on the other.
To the point of delaying book tours and facing protests.
Yeah, that's what the sources indicate. Real, direct consequences.
And it's not just top leaders, right? It affects things lower down, too.
Absolutely. The sources mention how grassroots anger and these same divisions have actually forced leadership changes in states like Arizona and Georgia.
So what's the overall feeling then, looking at the numbers?
Well, a May 2025 AP-NORC poll found quite a bit more pessimism than optimism among Democrats about their own party's direction.
More pessimism, wow.
Yeah, and when you look at polls asking directly about moderation versus progressivism, they're just starkly split. It clearly points to, weakened electoral clout.
So their ability to actually unify and win is being challenged.
Profoundly challenged, yeah.
So with all this tension, all this division, what's the path forward look like? The sources seem to lay out a pretty stark choice.
They really do. Two very distinct paths seem to be emerging.
Okay, what's the first one?
There's what you could call the moderate path. Representative Slotkin is a strong backer of this. It basically calls for pivoting back to kitchen table issues.
Like housing, jobs.
Exactly. Stuff that directly affects families. The idea is to shed that weak and woke label some critics use. Maybe compromise on some climate or housing policies to win back independent voters, swing voters. The center.
Okay, so that's one path. What's the alternative?
The alternative is the progressive path. This view, championed by people like Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, who, according to Gallup in 2025, are still very popular with the base,
Right.
argues that watering down the agenda is basically failure. They say you need to push bold, ambitious platforms to really energize young voters, minority voters. Go big.
So compromise versus doubling down.
Pretty much. And this decision is not just a minor strategy shift. It's really about the party's fundamental identity.
Yep.
It's going to shape the next decade for them, undeniably.
That makes sense. And that's where looking back at history can be useful, right? Any lessons from the past mentioned?
Definitely. Historical echoes give context. For instance, the 1972 McGovern loss often comes up as a kind of cautionary tale for Democrats. Well, the insight there is that McGovern was seen by many as just too liberal for the general election voters at the time.
And the result was a landslide loss.
Exactly. It taught the party a pretty painful lesson, about needing some moderation to win nationally, the risk of ideological overreach.
But then you contrast that with, say, Obama's 2008 win.
Right. Obama managed to blend that progressive energy with a broader centrist appeal. It suggests that finding that balance, that sweet spot, might be crucial.
Is there academic research backing that idea?
There is. A 2025 political history review actually echoes that. It suggests that finding balance is key to stopping a party from collapsing when it's got internal fights like this.
So maybe a hybrid approach? Not fully one way or the other.
That seems to be the hint, yeah.
Yeah.
That it might be the best way to steady the ship and broaden their appeal again.
So, okay, history gives us context, but what about right now? What does the voter pulse, the base itself, actually want? We have that 2025 CNN poll.
Yeah, and that poll shows a really fascinating internal split. Get this. 40% of Democrats say they favor moderation, specifically to win over swing voters.
Really 8%, okay.
But then 35% are pushing for more progressivism to really fire up the base.
Almost neck and neck.
Very close.
Yeah.
And then you've got a significant chunk, 25%, who are basically undecided. caught between these two strong pulls.
Wow, that really lays bare the internal conflict, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the sources also point out different priorities within the Democratic electorate. Like rural voters feeling kind of left behind by cultural shifts, by some of the identity language. While younger, urban voters are demanding much bolder, faster action on things like climate and social justice.
So how on earth does the party reconcile those demands? They seem almost opposed.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The pulse of the party clearly shows they desperately need some kind of unifying strategy, something that can bridge these gaps, maybe find common ground, or just prioritize things that resonate widely.
So, wrapping this all up, what does it all mean? It seems crystal clear the Democratic Party is at a major crossroads, a really profound one.
Absolutely.
They're weighing this choice. Lean moderate, but risk losing the passion, the energy of their base.
Right.
Or double down on progressivism, but risk alienating those crucial swing voters they need to win elections.
And connecting that to the bigger picture, America's future really does hinge, in part, on the path they choose here.
It feels like a truly defining moment, one that's going to shape politics for years.
No doubt about it.
This profound crossroads leaves the party with such a critical strategic choice. So thinking about everything we've discussed from these sources, as of July 13th, 2025, which path would you choose for the Democratic Party? Centering for swing voters or doubling down for the base?
It's a tough one.
It really is. Let us know your thoughts on this complex dilemma. Drop a comment below. Tell us if you agree or disagree with how this deep dive summarized the situation. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, engage with the conversation.
And hey, if you found this deep dive insightful, please do give us a like and subscribe to Mind Expansion Daily for more great content like this. Thanks for joining us.